All right, so today what we're going to do is we are going to finalize what we're going to be doing for our reasons of using subjunctive. So to form the subjunctive, to form the subjunctive for the 8 millionth time, you put the verb in the you drop the If it is an AR verb, you are going to replace it with es, emos, en. And if it is an ER or an IR verb, the ending will now be replaced with as, amos, an. The verbs that we need to be very careful are verbs that end in GAR, ZAR, and CAR, because now the GAR is going to become gay in all forms, the ZAR is going to become say in all forms, and the CAR is going to become K in all forms. Excellent. Okay. We also have 5 irregulars that we need to be aware of, and those are the verbs ir, ser, dar, estar, and saber. Okay, I'm not going to write them down, we'll just say it. But ir becomes vaya, ser becomes sea, dar becomes day, estar becomes stay with those accents, and saber becomes sepa. Excellent, excellent. Okay. So when we talk about the reasons for using subjunctive, the number 1 reason that we use subjunctive is with verbs of desire. Okay? And we're going to take the time today to actually create the lists so that you've got this to go back to and study. All right? So the very first verb of desire that we learned was querer. That's wonderful. So we used to just say the number 1 reason to use subjunctive is the verb querer. But now we know that that's a verb of desire. What are the rest of the verbs of desire? If you could raise your hand. Yes. Esperar. What does esperar mean? To hope for. In this case, it means to hope for. Iris. Insistir en. To insist upon something. Yes.
Rogar.
Okay. Rogar.
To beg.
It's an O to UE stem changer, and it means to beg or to pray. Jamie. Desear, the most obvious. To desire. Okay, to desire. Yes. Sugerir. Sugerir. What kind of stem changer is it? E to IE. And it means to what? It means to what? To suggest. Yes. Pedir. Pedir is also a stem changer. It's E to I, and it means 2 things. To request or to ask for. Yes. Preferir. Preferir. And this is an E to IE, and it means to prefer. And these, friends, are the verbs of desire that I hold you accountable for. Okay? Now, with all of these verbs, you also have to have 2 things, 2 other things that happen. What are the other 2 things that have to happen, Jenny? You have to have the word que, which in this case means that. And the other thing you also have to have is a switch in subject. So, in all of these cases that we see today, the first part of your sentence is going to be what tense? Present. It's going to be present. And then you'll have the K. And as long as you've switched subjects, what's going to be over here? Subjunctive. Subjunctive. But you have to switch subject. So if it's I here, it can't be I over here. Okay? All right, and so in this present area, the first thing we talked about today was verbs of desire. Let's continue our list. What is the number 2 reason that we use subjunctive? If you could raise your hand for me. All right, let's find somebody. Emily. Impersonal expressions. In this one, I'm just going to give a couple of examples because they're very self-explanatory. Ben, could you give me 1 example of an impersonal expression? Es importante Okay, excellent, excellent. Let's take a look at another one. Go ahead, Mason.
Yes. Es mejor que.
Es mejor que. And I gave you a nice long list of them. But if we go back and we look, do these have a switch in subject and do they have a K? They sure do. They've already been built in for us. So the S means it is. So that's your first subject. So anything that comes after it is going to be a switch in subject. And it already has the K built in for you as well. So everything after these impersonal expressions is going to require your subjunctive. All right? The number 3 reason that we use subjunctive. What's the number 3 reason that I gave you to use subjunctive? Mark. Okay, good. Ojalá, tal vez, and quizás. Now, friends, what does ojalá mean?
God willing.
God willing, or we sometimes we just say hopefully, right? What do tal vez and quizás both mean? Maybe or perhaps. Now, these are lacking 2 things. They're lacking the switch in subject, and they're lacking the K. Sometimes ojalá will have a K, but not always. And the reason, who can explain to me that these kind of stand alone in their own category, and these require subjunctive, even though we're not looking at that switch in subject, that K? What's the reason? Iris? Yeah, because what it's implying here is an uncertain outcome. Maybe it'll rain. Maybe he'll listen to my instructions. I doubt it. And it gets into our next reason. Okay? So everything that I say after maybe or perhaps is an unknown outcome. That's why it requires subjunctive. All right, friends, which takes us into our very last reason for needing subjunctive. What is the number 4 reason that we've learned to use subjunctive? Is with expressions of doubt. All right, this is where things got really tricky because we started comparing doubt to what? Things that are certain. Exactly. So let's take a list. Let's take a look at that list that we created. Can anybody give me an expression of doubt? Max, I know you can. Okay, so dudar K. Dudar K. To doubt. And the opposite of that is no duda. If I could have another one, maybe a friend who has not answered something yet. Emma. Okay, so no pensar. No pensar, meaning to not think. I don't think this. I don't think this. So the opposite of that is an obvious pensar. Excellent. Another expression of doubt. Maria. No creer, to not believe something. So the opposite of that is creer. All right, continuing on, another expression of doubt would be Sam. Okay, I'll go with that. Es dudoso que? It's doubtful that, and the opposite of that is no es dudoso que. All right, we should have one more. Hunter. Okay, no. Yes, ma'am. No, okay, so no estar seguro. And then the opposite of that is to be sure. Estar seguro. All right. Now, what got very tricky, well, let's first talk about, you are going to have to add those extra pieces in here. You are going to have that K, and you are going to have that switch in subject. But once again, with doubt, you must use what? Subjunctive. When there is a doubt, you must use subjunctive. But when there is certainty, when you are certain of something, regardless of if there's a switch in subject, it doesn't matter. You don't use subjunctive. Anything that you are sure of does not use subjunctive. So we had a couple of options here. And those options were present, future, and then present perfect. So determining when to use each one, present is what I'm sure of is happening now, future if what I'm sure of is going to happen, and present perfect is if I'm sure of what has happened. Okay, so let's take a look at an example using this, since this is I would say the trickiest of what we've learned so far. And let's use the verb dudar. Okay, so dudar. So I want to say yo dudo que los estudiantes hagan la tarea. So what I've stated here is that I doubt that the students do their homework. All right? That's my only option, is I can only use present subjunctive in this case because I have a doubt and I have a switch in subject. But now I want to turn this around and I want to say that I don't doubt that the students do their homework. I know they do it. So it would be no dudo que los estudiantes hacen la tarea. What does this one mean? Yeah, I don't doubt that the students do their homework. Now let's take out hacen and let's replace hacen with harán. So now I've said I don't doubt that the students will do their homework. Now let's get rid of the future and let's replace that with han hecho. What does it say now? I don't doubt that the students have done the homework. So in this case, I get to choose. Do I want to talk about what I think is happening now, will happen, or has happened? And that will determine the verb that I use. Got it? All right, so let's today add the number 5 reason that we use subjunctive. So here's the new stuff. The number 5 reason that we use subjunctive is with verbs of emotion. And I would say that this is the most challenging reason for students to understand using subjunctive. Okay, so that's why we save it for last. So the subjunctive is used when emotion is introduced. Okay, so let's first talk about a couple of verbs of emotion and then we'll look at formation. All right, so anytime you have a star is the verb that we use for what? To be what? To be feeling, to feel something, So what are some of the feelings that we use most commonly? Okay, angry, all right. So I was thinking about happy and sad. So happy is, okay, feliz, contento.
What's the cry?
Alegre. All right. Tired is actually not one of the feelings that kind of introduces that.
What's heartbroken?
What are some, or we might have some feelings of sadness, such as triste, or anger, of course. All right. Also, the verb gustar. Yeah, to like something. Oops, and I spelled it wrong. Gustar.
Like a friend.
No, well, not quite. And we're going to look at how that's used. Okay. Also, the verb sentir means what? To feel, and it's an E to IE stem changer. So I feel something about something else. I feel. And so again, we're looking back at those feeling words that we just talked about. Feliz, contento, alegre, all of that stuff. Okay? I'm sorry? Alegre, happy. All right, and then the last one I kind of want to show you is the verb sorprender. And sorprender is to surprise. Are these all of the emotions or the feelings? No. But these are your most common verbs of emotion. Okay? So let's take a look of an example. Estoy estoy a